Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the 5th week event. This week I'm going to be telling some D&D stories, and I know it's kind of strange that I named this show after a comic book concept, but mostly I've been talking about role-playing. But you've got to understand, I have been working really hard on the World of Air D20 stuff, so my mind is sort of like in role-playing mode at the moment, and I've been going through a lot of the old systems I played and thinking about all the memories that I've had of role-playing. I've been doing it for about 15 years now, and it is one of my favorite hobbies. Probably more so than comics. Yeah, definitely more so than comics, because a lot of the times, as you've heard here, comics frustrate me. Yeah, I get very attached to characters, and comics, a single comic is not going to run very long. I don't think that there are many that have gone more than 3 years without a major shakeup in team dynamics and characters leaving. So, role-playing is something where if you've got a really good group together, you can stretch out this sort of thing for years with the same characters following a big, epic plot. It is probably the longest form kind of entertainment you can get. Video games can last hundreds of hours. Role-playing games can last thousands. And I think that's the big strength of it. I mean, even when you play pickup games, those are great, but I love the long, super long campaigns, which a lot of these weren't, let me tell you. But sit back, relax, and let me regale you with some of the funniest, strangest, and dumbest situations that I've been in my life as a role player. So let's begin, as they say, at the beginning. When I first started role-playing, it was because a friend of a friend saw me playing Arcanum of Steamworks and Magix Obscura. It was a very awesome game that really tinted the way I see fantasy, more so than any other. This changed what I thought of as fantasy more so than reading Lord of the Rings. A lot of people they form fantasy from reading Lord of the Rings. Mine was from Arcanum, because they combined steampunk with high fantasy. And if you look at World of Air, there's a lot of that in there. But anyway, he saw me playing that, and he said, well, if you like computer RPGs, have you ever played D&D? And, okay, when I was little, my mother and my grandmother had heard some of the rumblings about that darker dungeons bullshit. They didn't really buy into it, but they thought that because they hadn't heard exactly what was being said. They just heard, oh, there's this bad thing called D&D. So on the first day of me going to school, like when I was 5 or 6 at this point, they told me to watch out for people wanting to play D&D. It was very strange, but by that time, my mother had realized that everything that was being said was bullshit. But I always had that in the back of my head, and I was like, D&D, isn't that thing that weirdos play in steam tunnels? He said, no. It's a lot of fun. You get to act out your character. It's more freeform than an RPG. Which it is. It's more computer RPG. It's more freeform than a computer RPG. You do what you want. You have certain rules that you go by, but say if you want to pick up that glass and take it with you, you can. It's not just place setting. You can interact with everything. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I don't want to rag on this guy, because he was a very awesome guy in my opinion. He was my roommate in my sophomore year of college. But his first game was a bit of a mess. I think it was his first time DMing ever, but it was kind of a mess, and I was the recipient for a lot of that mess. And this game is where I got a lot of my prejudices against a lot of things in the third edition of D&D, because I ended up at the ass end of all of the things that I think are bad in D&D in this game over the course of, say, 3 sessions. First of all, he gave me a pre-gen character. To his credit, he asked if I wanted to be more of a wizardy type or a fighting type. But still, he pre-gened the character, and let me tell you this. I know everybody thinks it makes things easier to give newbies pre-gen characters, But it really doesn't help things, because then they don't know why things are happening. Like, I did not know why I couldn't sneak or anything. I didn't know why I didn't even know I had the option, because I had a pre-gen character. He had Spellcraft and a couple other things. But he didn't have Move Silently. He didn't have Spot and Listen. And I didn't know why. I didn't know they were options. And that's why you don't give newbies pre-gen characters. Pre-gen characters, I think, are best for experienced players who just want to play a quick pickup game or test out a new system. If you're going to a con and you're playing a lot of different games and games that you don't understand the system for, and you're not really trying to learn the system for, but you're a role player and you know in general how things work, that's fine. When you're a newbie, you don't know what the hell is going on, like, with the system, and you don't know what you can and cannot do, and you need the experience of generating a character to understand this. So yeah, anyway, I got handed this wizard, and I didn't even get to name him. The DM, I'm not going to name him, names have been hidden to protect the innocent. He was a big Dragonlance fan, so my character was named Magic Crystalline Dauntless. Yeah, magic. My very first character was an elf named Magic. Yeah. That should have been warning number 1. He did, again, to his credit, tell me that after I learned how to do things, I would be able to generate my own characters, but at this point, I had Magic. And the first problem was he was a wizard. I don't know if people follow my blogs and stuff, but I really, really hate Vancian spellcasting. And it's not just the flavor of it. I have problems with the flavor of it, the fire and forget thing. But my biggest problem with it is your abilities become a freaking homework assignment. You have to sit down and decide. You have this list of spells that you know, but you can only prepare so many. And you have to have, each one you prepare is its own specific unit. And when you use that, it's gone. So if you want to cast Magic Missile twice, you have to have 2 Magic Missiles prepared. So you have to figure this out, and you have to guess what the DM is going to do. Because if I take Knock, is one of my spells, and then I don't run into a locked door, I'm screwed. So I had this character, and I had to do my goddamn homework. And this is college. I was just learning, trying to learn how to do my homework without prompting, and now I have to do homework in my recreational time. Yeah, that was great. So I already didn't like the character. He had a stupid name, and he was a wizard, a class that I learned very quickly that I hated. But I played him, and this was the other thing. Pre-gen character, he was generated as a straight wizard, but a straight wizard by somebody that knew how to play wizards. And I didn't get a crossbow. For people that don't roleplay a lot, the thing with low-level wizards in the earlier editions of D&D was that you only had a little tiny amount of magic. Very little magic. You got 1 or 2 spells a day. Sometimes 3 if you specialized. And once you fired it, you were done. You had no more magic for the day. You could not do shit. So everybody had, wizards usually had a quarterstaff, which was real smart. You only have a maximum of 4 hit points plus the modifier for your Constitution score, and you're gonna run into melee. Yeah, that was genius. Yeah, Magic had quarterstaff. Most wizards carry a crossbow, because it's a simple weapon that they know how to use, and they can just shoot guys. And at low level, it doesn't matter that you're not good at using the crossbow, because no one is good at using a crossbow. But, yeah, I didn't have a crossbow. I had a quarterstaff. I had to run up to people and try to hit them. And I ended up near death probably 6 times in 3 sessions. Because I didn't know. Lord of the Rings had not come out. Well, I think the first one had come out yet, but we didn't get to see Gandalf kicking ass with his longsword and staff. But I still thought that I wanted to contribute to the group, so I was trying to run in with my little danky quarterstaff and getting my ass handed to me. And so that my profound hatred of wizards was born not from them being overpowered, but from them being frustrating as hell at lower levels. That's why, to this day, whenever I run a D&D game, even the later games, 4th edition made it so that you could actually survive as any class at first level. But it's become so ingrained to me that first level sucks, that I won't run a D&D game below 3rd level, ever. But that wasn't Megget's only problem. Not too long after, and this was another newbie DM thing. I think every DM has to make this one specific poor decision when they run games, because you look in the DMG, in 3rd edition, that's where the magic items were. You look in the DMG, and you see the deck of many things, and you say, that could be fun. It's not. The deck of many things, I believe, is put into the game as a test for dungeon masters to see what they will do when their campaign is completely ruined by randomness. The deck of many things is an artifact where you declare how many cards you pick up, and when you pick them up, they each have a major magical effect on the game. It can have anything from having a fighter appear and be the servant to one of your characters, and the fighter is always 4th level, so if you're 1st level, you just got the juggernaut hanging out with you. If you're 15th level, you got something to soak up one hit. So that's how swingy the deck of magic things is. But that's the tamest thing. Some other things, a giant fortress appears somewhere out in the wilds, and it is yours. And that's really cool. I like giving PCs property. World of Air D20 is going to have property as rewards, and it's going to be awesome. Trust me. But no. Then you have stuff like you gain 2 levels. Just you. The rest of the party stays normal. You gain 2 levels. And these are the good things that can happen to a PC that will totally screw the game. And then you have stuff like all of your magic items turn to dust and blow away. Everything. You suddenly become completely useless because 3rd edition is balanced out on you having a certain number of magic items. That's the argument I keep hearing about 5th, about having magic items suck and fail. But, yeah, in 3rd, you needed your magic items, and the deck of many things could just destroy all of them. Just destroy them. Oh, but it gets better. There's a couple of cards that kill you. Either kill you or summon death to kick your ass. Yes, you pull the card, death appears, and beats the shit out of you. That's just perfect fun. But there are some that can just ruin a character in general without murdering them. And that's what happened to my character. The one thing that I got a say in when making Magic was alignment. And some people have already heard and have gotten tired of my talks on alignment. But I'm not going to do the general complaint here. I'm just going to explain to people that don't know, alignment is supposed to be your character's side in the great cosmic conflict. It is how you say, I am a good guy. But the thing is that your alignment can change based on your actions, and you can be punished by other characters. There are characters called paladins that can detect evil, and they have in their actual class description that they lose their powers if they hang out with evil people too much. Which some people seem to take to mean that they get to murder anyone who is evil. And yes, they do this. I call them detect thump paladins, because they detect evil and then they thump it to death. So, my character, Magic, was chaotic good. I decided on chaotic good because chaotic is freedom-loving, free-willed. You're not really tied up in law. And good because, well, good. I want to play good guy. I like good guys. I like bad people, but I like good guys. So we got the deck of May things. And I decided to draw 2 cards. First I got the Keep, which was awesome, and I thought that was the best thing ever. And then I drew the next card, and the next card said, your alignment changes to a random alignment. And suddenly I was lawful neutral. And the DM, and I am friends with him. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I imagine that we are still friends. If we ran into each other, we'd hang out. But I cannot forgive him for this. He takes me aside and tells me that I will be punished by the gods if I don't act out lawful neutral. Like, I didn't want to play not lawful neutral. Hell, I didn't want to play Magic. I had already designed a rogue that I was doing, and I was doing my damnedest to get Magic killed. But no, I had to play lawful neutral. And I absolutely hate that. Upon looking at lawful neutral and finding out that I had to play lawful neutral, I realized all the problems that I had with the alignment system in general. And I never looked back. I've never accepted alignment as a legitimate role-playing device ever since, because of that moment. Because I suddenly had to play as that. I didn't get told that I had to play as chaotic good, but I had to play as lawful neutral, and I said F that. But anyway, on to more fun things than my ranting about alignment. So, this next story is about how I ruined a game. Well, actually, me and Pele. Pele the person, not the character. We completely ruined one of our friends' games. It may surprise a lot of people to know, especially with my stance on Grim and Gritty, that I actually like White Wolf games. They're a very nice system. I like the dots, I like the dice pools, I like all of that. I don't like the flavor text, obviously. But the thing about White Wolf is, hardly anyone ever plays the games correctly, i.e. the way that the designers obviously wanted you to play them. The White Wolf games, if you look at the things that you have, like Rage or Humanity for werewolves and vampires respectively, White Wolf games are about personal horror, about the terrible things that your character has to do because they are a monster, because they are a vampire or a werewolf. Even if they have noble intentions, which a lot of the werewolves do, they are still corrupt in some way, and there is something fighting to get out to push them to do bad things. In reality, however, most people play it as Underworld or Blade. Let's just be honest. Most people like to play the badass action sequences with explosions and trench coats and swords and katanas and all that, and that is awesome. That is the kind of game I like to play. And that is the problem that brought us to the story I'm about to tell. One of the lesser-known White Wolf games is Wraith the Oblivion. Wraith is one of the few games that people always play correctly. Wraith is the game of infinite sadness. Basically, your character starts dead. They have fetters in the real world and they try to survive, but they are completely screwed. This is a game where creatures that are like your characters are forged into money and items. Yes. The money that you use is actually souls forged into coins. And that is the threat that hangs over your characters' heads at all times. That and going into Oblivion, where you become a howling wraith murder demon. But yeah, so Wraith is not D&D. At the time, the only games that both I and Pele played was D&D. And we were invited to be in a Wraith game. We were invited to be in a Wraith game by a dude who had, for a very long time, kept telling us about this legendary Hunter game he was in. It was so legendary he just called it the Hunter game, and we knew what he meant, because these stories were awesome. Hunter is a game where you are a hunter of the bad things from White Wolf's world. obviously, that's the name right there. But they had so many awesome stories about blowing the shit out of vampires and destroying buildings and going all Matrix and shit on stuff that it really excited us about White Wolf in general. But the first White Wolf game he invited us to play was Wraith. And we had no idea what to think. We were playing like incredibly silly. Nyx had this sad, forgotten artist whose Wraith form was this broken angel, and I had this dude. This guy was Vanilla Ice. Basically, he was one of those dudes that stole so hard from black culture, white dudes that stole so hard from black culture that they really, really thought that that really think that they're black guys. And it's fun because, I'm half black, half white, so I like playing to that stereotype. So this guy, and we were hamming it up, and everybody else was trying to be serious, and we didn't realize it. We weren't being jerks, we just didn't get what they were trying to do. We thought they were overplaying it too. So we get into this situation where in this museum place. I don't know if it was like a museum in the real world or whatever. And some knights attack, like knights who are wraiths, and they had the soul forged swords, which are, actual people stuck inside the sword and all this, and shields and armor, and they're gonna come and kick our ass, I guess. And the other characters hid in a bathroom. And okay, D&D as a game does not teach you to run. Sometimes you're expected to run, like when the Tarrasque shows up, but D&D does not reward you for running. It never says this was a good idea to run. You should probably always at least try to fight, and if that doesn't work, then you run. Running is plan B. In Wraith, apparently, running is always a good option, especially when some dudes with soul forged crap attack you. We didn't know this. We were D&D players. Me and Pele look at each other, nod, we're going after these bastards. And I actually managed to disarm one, and we got a soul sword. And we started doing aggravated damage to these bastards. I had this thing where I could bend the reality of wherever the hell wraiths live. Yeah, I didn't learn much about the setting after the fact. I didn't remember much. But I was able to teleport, and I was like freaking Nightcrawler, teleporting around, stabbing people. I managed to get another sword off of him and toss him to Pele, and we made them run. And the storyteller, our friend, was just staring at us like, what the hell did you just do? And that's how it started. We started trying to figure out things, because the idea was we were going to get captured, because we were going to cower and we were going to get captured and forced to do things for the main wraithy dude or whatever. No, we went on the run. We straight up did the super refugee family thing. And the game sort of fell apart because we had broken things so much that he couldn't get anyone to explain shit to us, because we would fight or flight against anything. And there was nothing to do. Our characters, one session ended with us using the massive brunt of our powers to turn on a TV in a house to watch TV. So that was how I destroyed a game alongside my best friend, and managed to cause a lot of trouble by not understanding the game. The other White Wolf game that I remember most vividly, I remember quite a few. We had quite a few pickup White Wolf games, never really any long runners, but there was one that we tried to do that was, and everybody that plays vampire tries this one out eventually. What if you were a vampire? Yeah. There's really only a couple of outcomes to this. Either the player just plays whatever vampire character they wanted to do anyway and says it was them, or they try to play themselves and they don't want everybody else to think that they're a psychopath, so they play super cautiously and die really quick. I was the latter. This was my first ever vampire I created. I created a character, and I was like, at the time, I was like this super chivalrous dude, and I didn't want to like offend women, or I wanted to be the gentleman, which in its own way is kind of misogynist in and of itself, and I'm glad I grew out of that. But I took the feeding limitation, cannot feed on women. And the thing is, you have to understand about vampires in general, not just Vampire the Masquerade vampires, but vampires as a cultural creature is, the feeding is sexual. It's almost always sexual. It's shown as a sexual predation, almost a sexual assault. And when you're a dude and you take a prohibition against feeding on women, that means that you're only going to feed on guys. And when you're college-age jackasses that have no social sensitivity, that means there's a lot of very horrible jokes that go around. And so, of course, I didn't even think of this. I was like, oh, I'm being all debonair and stuff by not attacking women. But yeah, it turned into a lot of really insensitive gay jokes. So that was my first folly. But yeah, that was not a good game, because we all tried to play ourselves as if we had been taken by a vampire, and it didn't. I don't think it ever works when you try to play yourself as a vampire, unless you actually are a psychopath, because it's not that fun. I mean, you get in, yeah, you end up playing that personal horror thing, but personal horror, while interesting and dramatic, I don't think it's that fun. Like, especially when you're playing yourself. When you're playing another character and you're making it up, it's sort of like you're writing a book. When you're playing yourself and you're trying to, like, investigate your own limits and stuff, I don't see the appeal. That's the nicest way I can put it. I don't see how well that does. But yeah, so that was a game. If I'm going to give advice for people that want to try White Wolf, and I suggest you try White Wolf, and I suggest you try Old World of Darkness, New World of Darkness, either one you want, my suggestion would be, as tempting as it will be, don't play the play yourself game for Vampire. It's never going to turn out the way you expect it. Really, I would say don't try to play yourself in general. That's not the point of role-playing. I understand that it could feel like it would be exciting or interesting or a change of pace, but I don't think playing yourself is really in the spirit of role-playing. Creating something either greater or worse or different to yourself, I think, is the epitome of role-playing. I like playing Warwick because while he was a lot like me, he was a lot more brash, and that was fun. He was a Brooklyn guy. He was always trying to act tough, even though he was still a pencil neck geek, and that was hilarious. And yeah, people asked me about this last week. I do voices. I do voices a lot. I am a voice actor. I have done 1 or 2 radio commercials, but that still qualifies me as a voice actor. So I do like to do voices. So when I talk about Warwick, I try to talk in the way that I talked when I was playing his character in the X-Men game. So yeah, the funny thing about Warwick is he's totally affecting that accent. He's only lived in Brooklyn since he was something like 10. He grew up in Florida. Warwick tries to sound like a tough guy, and then it's just becoming ingrained in his personality. So hey, I actually took this back around to superheroes. Awesome. We're out of time now, but next time we may end up talking about the Super Faerun game. And that was fun. But I need to go into a lot of talk about the actual setting of Forgotten Realms, Faerun, to give you background on this. But yeah, for people that know Forgotten Realms, Manchun was the big bad. So just keep that in mind, because he's perfect for this. He has clones, but we'll get into that. Until then, keep doing what you're doing. Enjoy your time. And try some role-playing games. Try different systems. If you've only played D&D, try something else. Try Hero. I talked about Hero. Try White Wolf. Try Mutants and Masterminds, what we're playing on the forum game. Big Eyes Small Mouth is another fun system. That's the Tri-Stat system. Try lighter role-playing games. Kobolds Ain't My Baby was a lot of fun. But try it out, and I would love to hear your own stories. Put them in comments. Tell us the stories. Oh, one that you should never try, and I totally need to tell the story about my adventures in this. Fatal. Fatal I've explained before, but Fatal is the most vile, racist, misogynistic, and poorly designed game ever made. And it is glorious to screw around in when you know how horrible it is. But that's for another time. Everyone take care, and I'll see you next time.